be showing you how to make an organic bowl out of clay. This is an example. Notice how it curves almost like a wave, and on the underside there's a foot made out of a coil. The foot is the part of the bowl that touches the table when it's sitting down. And later on in a few weeks you'll be able to paint your pot like this one. So when you come in, you'll see that your table is set up for clay. There is a fabric placemat in front of you. This is called canvas. There's a tray of supplies, a little cup of water, a container with a red lid that's holding scrap pieces of clay. The blue lid container, this is holding slip, that glue for clay. And there's a little bin of tools. I'll be calling your table to come over to me to get your clay. You will bring your canvas with you with your hands underneath like this to walk over to me. When you come to me, I will use my clay slicer to get a slab of clay for you. I will lay it on your placemat, and you'll carry it back to your seat like this and then gently put it down. Please don't poke at it. If you make a poke, it's very hard to fix it. You can't unpoke the clay. So at this point, you're going to be getting out the tracer that you made of your organic shape from a piece of paper. So I'm going to lay this one down on my slab. Now you'll see that it might not fit perfectly. I can turn it a little bit and hopefully it'll fit better. That fits pretty well. But if there's a little piece that doesn't quite fit on your clay, I'm not going to want you to worry about that. It's not a big deal. If you are doing your Play-Doh practice right now, you'll be finding an opened paper clip that looks something like this, because our next step is to actually cut out this shape from our slab. If you're using the clay, I want you to look for the needle tool or this black plastic tool. Both of these tools have pointy ends that will help us cut the clay. I'll use this one because I think it's easier for you to see. So I'm going to poke it into my slab. Now as I'm following my shape, I want to make sure that I'm cutting. So my tool has to be touching the table as I drag it along. Okay. Sometimes you'll see that I get clay on the tip of my tool. I can just pull it off very easily to get it out of my way and continue cutting all the way around. Okay. Now I should be able to just remove these edges here like this. And when I pull my paper off, there is my organic shape. At this point, you can get your finger wet, one finger, to smooth the edges where you were cutting, because sometimes it can get a little bit raggedy looking. You want it to look nice and smooth. Because the way it looks when you're done today is exactly the way it's going to dry. You won't be able to make any changes once I give it back to you after it's been fired. You'll also want to smooth this part as well. Again, that's a wet finger, just gently smoothing along the top. You don't want to add a lot of water because you'll make your clay muddy and it'll be really hard to work with. That's why I like you to just use one finger, because it doesn't take a lot of water to do this step. I think that looks pretty good. Now an adult will be coming around with a cup. We're going to take your slab, your organic shape, and put this cup in the middle. We're going to do our best to find the middle and then flip both of these over together so that your slab is now laying on top of the cup. And you'll see that gravity is already starting to pull the sides down. And that's what we want, because that's what's going to give us that bowl shape. So at this point, don't press it here when you're shaping it, because if you press there, you could actually cut the cup right through the clay and the sides would just fall down. You don't want that to happen. So I'm just gently using my fingers to kind of shape how I want this to look for the sides of my bowl. And everybody's will be different. Be gentle, don't squeeze it, just manipulate it to have it curving around in sort of a wave. Okay? Now once I have that, I'm going to get my finger wet again, because you'll notice that you might have some cracks or wrinkles in your clay, and this is the underside of your bowl, the bottom, and you might need a little bit of some smoothing there as well. So I'm kind of smoothing the edges again. That looks pretty good. Now it's time for me to make my foot, and it's going to be out of a coil. That's what I'm going to use these extra pieces for. Now you might be lucky enough to just take a piece that you have and sort of use your fingers to make it look more like a rope or a snake and start to roll this. That's a quicker way to make a coil because it was kind of already spread out. But like this one wouldn't make a very good coil because it's so thin, it's almost about to break. So I could also just take my extra pieces of clay and push them together into a log and then put that down and roll it. And our goal for our coil is to have it be about as thick as a pencil. If it's too thick, it takes up too much room on your bowl. And if it's too thin, it could break. Okay. So that looks like about the thickness of a pencil. That's a lot more than what I need though, so I'm going to cut this down already. Now I have to make a measurement, so I'm going to look up here. I'm going to curve my coil around so I can see about how big it's going to need to be. And I've got all this extra clay here that I'm going to cut away because I don't need that. This is what my foot is going to look like. But I can't leave it on there like that because if I don't do scratch and attach, this will just pop off when my clay dries. So I'll take this round coil, push it together so it looks like a circle. Okay, just smooth the clay together. Now it's time for my scratches. Take the spork or fork from your tool bin and do a bunch of scratches along here. You are roughening up the surface of the clay. Okay, you see that? Kind of make it look like Velcro. Now that's going to be placed on the bowl. So I want to come around and see how your coil looks. Let me approve your coil. And then I'll do a quick little drawing to show you where your coil is going to go. You see that circle I kind of drew? Now you'll take your tool and put scratches on that circle, because we have to put scratches on the coil and on the bowl where the coil is going to be placed. So there's my scratches. Now I'll take this container of slip, get a little bit of slip on my finger, and pat it on my scratches. Don't rub it in because you don't want to rub your scratches away. Okay, remember, this is like glue. Now those scratches that I made, they're going to go down, so I won't see them anymore. Now I press that coil into place gently but firmly, and now I know that I did scratch and attach, and that coil is not going to pop off later after the pot dries. Smooth it a little bit more if you need to with a wet finger. And an adult will be coming around to put your initials in your pot. Along the bottom, you'll be telling us your initials. I'll put mine in as an example. And we're also going to put a teacher code. That's a number that lets me know what class you're in. So there's an example of the finished foot and the initials and the teacher code. Now when you're done, you will not take this clay bowl off of the cup. It has to stay on the cup because it has to dry in this position. So I'll let you know where you have to put it to turn it in. You'll carry it with 2 hands to that location. Then go back to your seat. Extra clay that you had left over gets placed in the scrap bin. Please don't smush it in, just everybody take a turn to lay those pieces in. And the last person can put the lid on nice and tight because I want the clay in there to stay nice and moist, so the lid has to be on. Put all your tools away. You can gently place the lid back on the slip. And you will be rinsing the clay off of your hands in a bucket. We won't use the sink because if we do, all of this clay gathers in the bottom of the drain and it could clog it. So when you are done today, before you line up, I expect your table to look like it did when you arrived so that we are ready for the next class. Thank you.